Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to another awesome episode of On the Throttle with Jacqui Van Ham and my buddy Josh Trokey out here bringing you all of the breaking news going on out here in motorcycles and power sports. Welcome back to another great show. I have got Josh for my stories today. It is all good news over here. It is positive
Good
vibes. It
vibes.
is good news. I'm going to be kind of touching on some stories that we've been covering the last handful of weeks. A little bit of like additional information on those stories is going to be coming your way, and a motorcycle that we have been waiting for what, 5, 6, 100 years now, it feels like. And by we, I mean globally. The world has been waiting for this bike for years, and it is finally here. Josh, what you got going on in your neck of the woods?
It's finally here. I'm still. Is it a unicorn? No. So similarly, there's been a bike that's been dire need of an update. Also, that got one that I'm going to talk about. It is the BMW R something or other. There was something about that. And then I don't know if you remember a few years ago, the big hype was about murder hornets out there. But we're going to talk. We're going to reverse those, and we're going to talk if the Hornet was murdered. Yeah.
Well, we're all gonna have to wait for these incredible sounding stories. I mean, incredulous, really sounding stories after this
Both.
word from our partner.
They tell you, wait your turn. Don't push. Stay in your lane. Be sensible. Keep it steady. Follow the crowd. Be logical. Dial it down. Stay consistent. Take no risks. Some of us just say no. Welcome to the Racing Squad.
Welcome back, everybody. So, for my first story for today, it's all positive news over here, as well as a couple of follow ups to some stories that we've been covering the last handful of months. So, let's go ahead and jump on in because there is an absolutely fabulous event going on this weekend. The slide on your screen, that is right. The BMW folks are celebrating their 100th anniversary. And also, to go with that 100th anniversary, the stop sell, by the way, is over. We reported on it last week. There was a stop sell all across US and Canada BMW dealerships. That is over. That is completely done, completely gone. The only information they've released on that, Josh, is that indeed, as you and I speculated, there was some sort of material that they were not satisfied with the quality of in their emissions system. Well, that's all been lifted. That's all done. So let's jump on into the story, which is 100 years of BMW. They're celebrating with a North American party at Barber Vintage Festival. If you've never been to the Barber Vintage Festival, it takes place every single year. I believe now we are in our 18th or 19th year of the Barber Vintage Festival. It is absolutely creme de la creme, one of the best motorcycling events in the country, hands down. It is wonderful. It is spectacular. It is an amazing swap meet. It is amazing racing. It is a fantastic location. Barber Motorsports Park is in Leeds, Alabama, about 20 minutes east outside of Birmingham. It is one of the, if not the largest privately held motorcycle collections in the United States. It is 4 or 5 stories. That's right, stories of motorcycles and cars and all sorts of rad stuff. I could not say enough good stuff about Barber Vintage Festival. Well, BMW has partnered up and been a sponsor of that festival for the last handful of years. This year, they went one step bigger, and they are hosting their 100-year anniversary celebration at Barber Vintage Festival within the festival itself. It is a party within a party within a party. Spoiler alert or transparency alert, I'm going to be there with the folks at BMW. I'll be holding down the BMW tent area, which is located in the fan zone. If you are watching and headed to Barber, make sure you come by and come say hey. I would love to see you. There's also the Motorcycles by Moonlight dinner that takes place. And again, it is going on this weekend in Leeds, Alabama. It is the Barber Vintage Festival and the BMW 100-year anniversary party taking place at the exact same time. It is everything awesome going on in motorcycling in one incredible weekend, and the weather looks absolutely spectacular. Now, my second story for my kind of good news, as well as touching on some earlier stories for today, Josh covered a very, very spicy, very hot topic a handful of weeks ago. And this is the fact that motorcycle theft is up right now. The numbers were really bananas. I can't remember, Josh, off the top of your head, do you remember what the statistic was? It was absolutely
It was
shocking.
like 28,000 in that range.
Yeah, it was just really, really a shocking, shocking number. Well, as I
Yeah.
mentioned during the show, in my mind, a really good way to go ahead and get ahead of this situation is by using a GPS locating device. And the folks over at FIN GPS, which is Find It Now GPS, sent me a really timely story about this. And I wanted to go ahead and talk about it a little bit because it's talking about using a GPS tracker, which I mentioned, but it gives me a little bit more information. And over on our parent website, which is motorcyclepowersportsnews.com, we are featuring ATVs this month. So they sent a story about tracking devices and ATVs. So I figured let's go ahead and jump on in and chat about it. Again, this is from the folks over at FIN GPS, which is Find It Now GPS Systems. Find It Now GPS Security is pleased to announce the recovery of a 2022 Can-Am Outlander ATV. The owner of the ATV notified FIN's 24/7 theft recovery team when his vehicle was stolen from the hotel he was staying at while visiting Tallahassee, Florida. Local authorities were notified shortly after. FIN's theft recovery team and the police worked diligently on getting the ATV back. The vehicle made its way to 2 residences before stopping at a power sports dealership in Tallahassee. Shortly after the vehicle arrived at the dealership, the FIN theft recovery team notified the customer and the Tallahassee police. FIN also called the dealership to inform them that a stolen Can-Am Outlander ATV was reported at their store. The service manager confirmed that they, in fact, had the stolen vehicle and that it was brought in by 2 men who were looking to get a key made. The dealership determined that neither of the 2 men were the rightful owners of the ATV and declined to make a key. The suspected thieves left the dealership, leaving the vehicle behind. The ATV was shortly recovered by Tallahassee police and now back in the hands of its owner. After the Can-Am was recovered, it was made known to FIN that along with the Can-Am, the customer's pickup truck was also stolen. Even though the pickup truck did not have a FIN GPS security device installed, FIN's theft recovery team leveraged valuable information from the ATV's location history, and authorities were able to retrieve the stolen truck from one of the residences where the FIN had previously recorded. Woo! I mean, this is so good news, right? Josh, how much do you love this story? I love stuff like this. I love that we are in this like magical golden age of technology where all of these things are becoming possible. I love this. So Josh, what do you think about this story?
I mean,
both these stories. All of these feel good stories. What do you got to say?
To me on this one, I think it's funny when how someone can think they can steal anything with the number of cameras and GPS devices as there are on this planet. How you think you're going to steal something and get away with it, I don't know. The fact that there are devices like this out there that they were able to not only recover the quad, but the truck because of the GPS, to me, that's really cool. I have not been down to Barber. As you know, I avoid people as much as possible. In this same sense, I mean, I know a ton of people that go too. I know a ton of people that race down there. I hear it's one just amazing event. The fact that BMW said, yeah, we're going to kind of make this our own makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it. And again, this is such a spectacular weekend. It is racing. It is an amazing swap meet. It is vendors. It is demo trucks, by the way. And there's demo trucks, of course, for BMW, but a handful of other vendors, including, I think, Triumph is there. Maybe KTM is there. There's usually 5 or 6 different demo trucks there if you want to come down and ride bikes. And the weather is almost always pretty spectacular this time of year there. So it's absolutely one of my top events in the US. So I wanted to go ahead and give them a little bit of a shout out for my first story today. Josh, what you got going on for your first story?
Well, we talked about bikes that we've been waiting for a while, and obviously the new R1300 GS is one of those bikes. There is a whole lot different with this thing compared with previous generations. And there's something that in the very last slide, I believe, we're going to wait till show this. We're going to show how BMW has finally caught up to Honda in 2017. But all jokes aside, we're going to talk about some of the great tech that is very futuristic on this bike. And this is what you see here on the screen right now. It is a 1300cc liquid cooled boxer engine. It uses a semi-dry sump. One of the unique things about this is they have now mounted the gearbox below the engine on this. What that's done is that's able to kind of smash everything together. They've actually come up with a much more compact package on that. In that, being more compact, engine alone, 8.3 pounds lighter. The whole powertrain is 14.3 pounds lighter. The bike, 26-pound diet over the last generation bike, which that is a lot of weight. I mean, you figure it out. That's about 5%. If I could lose 5% of my weight, I would be a happy guy. That being said, too, it's got plenty of oomph to get it down the road. It's rated for 143 horsepower at 75 or 7750 RPM, 109 foot-pounds of torque, which is about the same as your average Camry, I think. That comes in at 6,500 RPM, so it's up there. A big part of this, though, too, is it has variable valve timing. So, and with that, there is a variable stroke on the intake side, especially on one valve. What I found really interesting about that is what that does is that enables the valves, the two intake valves, to open kind of one after the other in different distances. When you do that, you greatly increase swirl in the top of the cylinder. What that does for you, I'm saying a lot of what that does for you, but this is a big trickle-down effect. When you increase that swirl and turbulence, you've now kept better atomization of the fuel, and you're able to burn it a whole lot better. That is more power and lower emissions on top of it. That's one of the few ways that you can get both more power and lower emissions. So I love that they did that. If you need it, you can do 140 miles an hour in this bad boy on knobbies. That is a great way to suck the seat internally. You would not need a seatbelt. In terms of a lot of other stuff, but we go to the next slide here. There's once again, it shows that we are a lot more compact because of the way that engine is designed and stacked. Now, part of that too, there is this new Evo telelever setup on the front end, and it is the revised setup on the rear. How that's going to work? There's a number of things with that. Once again, I'm doing a brief overview. BMW sent us about a 10-page novel about how all the things that are different on this, and I really liked it. In that, there is a 6.6-gallon fuel tank. The frame that you see here is stamped steel that they have formed into this, and I found that very interesting. You remember how years ago it used to be a trellis frame basically for the rear tail section. Now it is die-cast aluminum. Found that very interesting also. In the way this is set up, especially with that engine all smashed at the front and low, we are able to drop that seat height anywhere from 32 to 33.86 inches. So we're looking better for a lot of people that are inseam challenged. On top of that, there is dynamic suspension control, and just like so many of the other top-end adventure bikes right now, this thing will drop itself like it's hot when you slow down or at the push of a button, so that way you can actually touch the ground. There's some new electronic rider aids. There's adaptive cruise control. There is more dynamic cruise control. They have stepped that up. Or the dynamic traction control, I'm sorry. They've stepped that up and how that works and how many modes you have available. There is also a hill start assist. Tons of nannies here on this thing. I can't even pronounce them all. That hill start assist is to make sure that it will hold the brake until the clutch starts to grab and it feels the bike start to move forward. A lot of vehicles are having that now. Semi-trucks have had that for a number of years now, too. It's a great system. Standard equipment, LED headlights, cornering lights, heated grips. There's all sorts of stuff like that. There are a ton of options for it. Factory installed options. You can get stuff like electrically adjustable suspension, like I said, a quick shifter, and a TPMS system. Ironically enough, they unveiled it in Berlin on September 28th, which is exactly 100 years to the day that they unveiled their first motorcycle, the R32. Pricing and availability is scheduled to be announced at a later date. There's been all sorts of speculation over that over the time there. There are 39 accessory package options available through BMW.
Whoa.
So when you go to buy this thing, take along your credit card because you're going to want it. I'm showing 3 submodels. There's the triple black, the GS Trophy, and then the 719 Tramontuana, or however the heck you're going to say that. Nonetheless, there is a lot of great stuff with this. One thing that I noticed is when you look at this thing, that windscreen is going to be one of the first thing that most adventure people are going to update because it is tiny. I'm sure BMW did a fair bit of wind tunnel testing with this to make sure that it does block the wind for you. But at the top speed of 140 miles an hour, I'm sure it's probably going to try and suck you off the back of the bike as it is. Now, the one Weisenheimer thing that I have to say, this was going around the internet as within hours of this bike being released. And if we can hit that last thing that we have in here, Ashley, what you have down there is you have the Honda NC750. Which when you look at that from the side, boy, does that look a lot like the GS. I found that one highly entertaining, highly interesting. I think they're both great looking bikes. I think that BMW did hit the head of the nail with this, and I think they are going to sell like hotcakes. What are your thoughts, Jackie?
Yes.
I said a mouthful.
Oh, yeah. You did say a mouthful, but there was a lot of information. And you're right about the 10-page novel because this is such a departure from the GS that we've known
100%.
and loved and has been kind of the same for 15
decades.
Or 10 years. Yeah, no, I mean, I would say decades because, in the teens that had that duckbill front, and that was kind of their thing for during the zero years, and then in the teens they switched it up again. So I think the teens anyway. So we're finally due for the big revamp, the facelift of this bike, and whoa, mama, does she deliver! I love the fact that this weighs less and yet has more power. I think that is just such a necessary and needed move for the folks over at BMW because the GS does get blasted a lot for being such an oversized adventure bike. But I mean, that's the space it's in. She's a big girl, but that's what she does. And I mean, just to keep it real with you, the majority of these bikes are living their best lives on the highway anyway. So they do make an excellent tour machine. All jokes aside, they kind of do everything. I do lovingly refer to this bike as the Swiss Army knife because it does do everything and it does everything pretty well. But it's about time for this. I'm really excited to see this. I think the bike looks really sharp. I also did notice the lookalike of that Honda for sure. Because the front and the tail are like just so
really close.
So close, man. So close. It's not what we've been seeing from GS for the last handful of years. So it really stood out to me. I couldn't help also that front headlight to me is a dead ringer for what that Jeep Renegade with the X LED headlight on the front. But I mean, it's something different. It still looks good. Moving forward. The bike is super, super great looking. Those are not dings. Those are not negatives. I think that's a sharp looking bike. And everybody who's seen it live and in person, a handful of people have all commented on how much more narrow and how much of a smaller profile in general this motorcycle seems to have. So I, for one, am super here for it. And this is guaranteed to sell like hotcakes. This is like such a nice twist on the story of the stop sell here in North America, US and Canada markets. It's a nice sweet silver lining of the last week that the folks at BMW have had. So kudos to them. It's been burning down the internet for good reason. So anyway, kudos, congratulations. My next story, we're going to talk a little bit about yet another motorcycle that folks have been waiting for forever and ever and ever. But before we get into that story, let's go ahead and have a couple more words from some of our show partners.
Hey, what's up, dealers? Stop wasting your time posting to Facebook. I'm Joe coming at you with today's Pit Stop Pointers. Social media is pay to play, folks. Run highly targeted ads to grow your audience first, then watch your content soar by posting behind the scenes looks into your daily operations or service processes. Transparency builds trust, and use hashtags. The right hashtags, the more eyeballs. It's that simple. Intrigued? Click the link and unleash the full power of social. Stay tuned for more Pit Stop Pointers.
At XOto, we set out to build the world's most stable, easy to ride, and fun electric scooter ever created. With XOto, you get up to a 90-mile range on a charge and up to 45 miles per hour. It's the world's first front-wheel drive scooter and has self-stabilizing technology, even when you're stopped. There's no motorcycle license required, and you can purchase an XOto electric scooter today at xotoinc.com. Well, welcome back, everybody. As I mentioned at the top of the program, my second story for today is a motorcycle that the world has been waiting for years and years and years. And by the world, I mean me and Josh, because we have been talking about this motocross bike for a very long time. And the tease has been so real. The marketing has been so real for this. And that is going to be, obviously, there's not many bikes that really have been teasing us this long. It is the Triumph motocross motorcycle. We've been waiting forever and ever about it. Now, if you're like me and you were hoping to see kind of a Bud Eakins version of a 250 motocrosser, well, this is not that. But here is what it is going to be, and it is for real, and it is looking just like this. It looks just like a dirt bike. That's right. The folks over at Triumph launched this beautiful machine just recently out in Los Angeles with, of course, their top spokesperson for this bike, Mr. Ricky Carmichael himself. That is the real bike on your screen right now, and let's go ahead and jump on into this story. Triumph's new 250 motocross bike was revealed in public for the very first time at the Supercross World Championship Final on Saturday, the 23rd of September at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Spectators witnessed two new Triumph motocross bikes enter the arena to a blaze of pyrotechnics and fanfare. The hotly anticipated new production spec bike was ridden by Jeff Six-Time Stanton, who won his last championship at the Coliseum and manages Triumph's adventure experience in Michigan. Stanton was joined by the greatest of all time, the GOAT himself, Mr. Ricky Carmichael, whose bike featured his own graphics and non-standard spec components. The date for the full reveal of the new bike was announced, and it will be the 20th of November on giant screens around the stadium. In addition, Triumph has launched its new Triumph Racing website and social channels. Follow the action at Official Triumph Racing on Instagram and Facebook. Talking to commentators after his ride, the GOAT said, "I'm so happy to finally show the fans what we've been working on for the past 4 years. This bike feels great, it looks great, and it's fast. I'm really pleased with what we've delivered, and I can't wait until we can share the final details on November 23rd. Jeff Six-Time Stanton added, the Coliseum is a special place for me, and to be back here on the Triumph is an absolute honor. The new graphics look like nothing else in the paddock. I don't know about that. And give the bike a really sharp and distinctive new look that I think the fans are going to love." So I went ahead and did a little zoom. It's on your screen right now. It indeed looks like a 250 dirt bike. I'm excited to hear what they're going to be doing with this motorcycle. I knew, they announced a long time ago that they were going to get into the motocross game. I can't really blame them, Josh, because motocross is so big right now. Dirt bike's so big right now. Live outside so big right now. But have they missed the window with this 4-year delay or wait in delivery? What do you think?
It's interesting you say that because it's one of those things where, okay, we can strike while the iron's hot and throw something out there, or we can strike while it's still probably pretty warm and throw something good out there. And I think that's what methodology they take. It's interesting looking at it. I mean, the thing that they did with this is, once again, this is the ultimate tease within a tease within tease still, because we still know, we've seen it, but we know absolutely nothing about it other than it's got a hydraulic clutch, it's got a linkage rear suspension, it's got a funky bend in the exhaust, and it's supposedly around 250 cc's and has 2 tires. So to me, it's kind of still the ultimate tease with it. I mean, I don't know even what to say anymore with it. But really, and I don't think they've missed the mark with it, because motocross has always had so much more money in it in terms of over the past 20, 30, 40 years, has had so much more money in it than just regular motorcycles in terms of racing. So for Triumph to do this, once again, it may not be the ideal time, but I don't think there's really a bad time to get into motocross, because it's always had a pretty consistent audience.
That's what I was just going to say. Is this really more of like just kind of a marketing play? Because by releasing this motocross bike and possibly, I mean, I'm hoping that they're planning on campaigning it and racing this, they're going to be on the much bigger screens to an audience that normally would not be even looking at Triumph motorcycles, right? They're usually probably going to be looking at the big Japanese 3, or they're going to be looking at maybe like a Gas or a Husqvarna perhaps, but they're probably not really putting eyeballs on the Triumph products. Is this really just a huge marketing play in order to be in this space and have their brand in front of people? We're all going to have to wait and see.
I was about to say, it could be part of it with that too, but in the same sense, there are tons of people out there like me that like weird bikes. Give me a Beta, give me a Gas, give me Husqvarna any day over one of the big four. Even though the big four make phenomenal bikes, you know me, I like to be different and quirky, and just for the sake of being different and quirky. So I can see it as a plan.
Okay. All right. What you got going on for your second story, Josh?
So we're talking about murder hornets. And if you've ever seen video of those, they are the scariest thing on the planet. No, thank you. But we're wondering, did Honda murder the Hornet? And that's what we're kind of going to go back to here with this, because this has been out there. Honda has had, speaking of teases, I figured you would like that graphic. Honda has teased this since 2021 with computer illustrations, versions, stuff like that. It is available every other place you can find in Europe. This is a super hot seller. In a lot of other places, it's super hot seller. The thing that catches me with this, and this is what I'm hoping we can light the comments up with, it is powered with the same exact 755cc parallel twin engine, which is used to produce 90 horsepower in this. That it's the same engine that's in the Transalp. So most of the emissions stuff should cross over. The emissions testing should be easy. It's a 6-speed trans. I mean, it's everything that, I mean, and in fact, if I remember correctly, when you look at this next to the Transalp, I believe they share a number of frame components even. It's your typical minimalist design. It's got the standard electronic rider aids, including ABS, traction control, and wheelie control, because if you have a bike like this, one of the reasons why you do is to try and lose your license. It should be priced competitively with the rest of the market. And when you look at what the Suzuki with the GSX 8S, this Kawasaki Z900, and dare I also say, the way the MT-07 has sold, Honda, why have you not given us this motorcycle? To me, this is a question that I have, because as of right now, it looks like Honda has announced most of the bikes that they are going to announce for the US this year. That being said, this was not on that list. Do you think we see it in November someplace else? What are your thoughts on this one, Jacqui? I'm curious.
I find this so strange because this Hornet has been floating around for a hot second now. I know we've discussed it before. I know I discussed it. I think I saw pictures of it and talked about it around EICMA time last year, which is now almost 12 months later. I am absolutely shocked that this has not been announced for U.S. market, because you're right. It is, in essence, the naked Transalp 750 for all intents and purposes, just kind of a naked bike Street Fighter style versus an adventure style. It seems like a total no-brainer to, bring it on over. But that being said, they did just announce the 750 Transalp coming to the US also. So maybe they're just kind of creeping into this middleweight space slowly, and there still is one more announcement to come, because right around the corner is EICMA again. So maybe that's going to be their big news at EICMA, is that they're going to announce that the Hornet is coming to US. We're all going to have to wait and see. The second we hear about that news, I'll be breaking it. Josh will be breaking it. Someone will be breaking it here on the program.
Correct.
And you're going to be hearing about it. So if you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on out here in motorcycles, you better go ahead, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and share these videos with all of your friends that love hearing about awesome stuff going on out here in motorcycle and power sports as well. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, to another awesome episode, and we will see you next week.